Huh? Huh?
Fulfill your destiny. TheorySabers.com.
Oh boy, so we have another interview from Leslye Headland just from a few days ago, and she drops a few more little nuggets of information that are actually freaking huge, including that Qimir is now Plagueis' official apprentice. Let's get into it. The Acolyte creator says she has heard nothing about getting a potential season 2. You have to take a break, Headland says. An indefinite one, we're hoping. Especially after something like this, I don't even know how many years my brain has been going Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars, Acolyte, 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 lore breaking, how to destroy a franchise. I'm sorry. Just constantly solving problems. More like breaking them. Holy moly. Just constantly breaking lore, you know, just creating issues, dividing the fandom, constantly thinking about it. Twitter's like, you divide the fandom, you freaking toxic bastard. Stop speaking your mind. It is very weird to now be in a place where I don't need to do that. I always say to budding writers, the most important thing that you can do is sit around and do nothing. Because the second you start to manufacture a story, you're going to get stressed out, and the story can't start that way. Wow, yeah. You really manufactured the Acolyte by taking literally, like, quotes from the original trilogy, and then she took a whole bunch of characters from the prequel trilogy, like Qui-Gon, turned it into Soul, but made him extremely emotional and just not anything like an actual Jedi. Then she took the fact that Anakin was created by the Force, did the same thing with her own 2 new characters, and some witches, because witches are just a totally new concept that we've never seen in Star Wars, even though we just had the Ahsoka show, which introduced witches into live action, where we had that a ton in the Clone Wars, but she wanted to make her own kind of witches because she wants to be unique. Anyways, we can continue on that, but we've already done that a lot. So while Headland may be enjoying a hopefully only temporary break from the unrelenting pace of production and the pressure that comes with it, she can't help but form a future story in her head. My brain is still doing it, she says, laughing. It's almost like if you're running, you can't stop. You can't shout, keep, Leslie, baby, keep running the other way, sweetheart. As much as, you know, we appreciate you. Run the other way. Please, let's just keep going that way, or, you know, just somewhere far away from Darth Plagueis and Yoda, and maybe, you know, the next one will be $280 million. Perhaps, to just stay away. And some of a future season 2 would involve seeing more of the Republic Senate, which was introduced in the finale courtesy of Jedi skeptic Senator Rayencourt and Supreme Chancellor Drellick. A generation of 2 generations have gone by since the Nile, says Headland, of the antagonist group in the High Republic novels. There was a lot of drama, so it was just logical to me that there would be more of this button-down idea. We're trying to avoid the mistake. Let's limit the power. Let's do that before someone asks us to. And it was just logical to me to show Vernestra as the bridge for that. Okay. And that is just the beginning of Headland's future plans for Vernestra Rowe, played by Headland's wife, Rebecca Henderson. The only main character from High Republic novels. I laugh because I always remember when Critical Drinker called her a talent vacuum or something. The only main character from the High Republic novels who has appeared on the show so far. In the books, Vernestra is a headstrong youth, a very different personality from the older Acolyte version, who has been through it and seen so much. The finale teased a tantalizing connection between Vernestra and the Stranger, revealing that Qimir used to be her Jedi Padawan, and he's now Plagueis'. While season 1 showed the father and daughter dynamic between Lee Jung-jae's Soul and Stenberg's Osha, a second season would delve into the past mother and son relationship between Vernestra and Qimir. I can't confirm or deny that this is something we are thinking about, Headland says, but I think if we're allowed to continue telling the story, you'll see more of Vern's story with the Stranger and how that's affecting the decisions she's making now. In fact, Headland's only real regret about season 1 is that she was not able to work more of Vernestra's backstory into its 8 episodes. That was something I kept trying to slip in, but there was, you know, because it was so packed with exposition and storytelling and lore building, not breaking, that, you know, there was no time for you to fit in more of Vernestra.
That is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. I tell ye what.
As much as I'm sure you would have liked to. Headland says with a sigh, it's a really packed season, and I love that. Sure is. What it's packed with is a different story. My goal is to explore as many nooks and crannies as I can in the time I'm given, and Star Wars is the perfect place to do that because there's nothing but good nooks and crannies. All of this world that's available to you that you can dig into. So of course, there were things that I didn't get to explore, but there were bigger fish to fry and bigger characters to incorporate. Most notably, the finale cameos of Darth Plagueis and Yoda representing the higher echelons of dark and light power. If I couldn't do Plagueis or Yoda, I think that would have been a real heartbreak, more like a lore break. I think it sets up future storylines that could be really compelling. Yeah. In the end, the finale wrapped up major storylines while planting the seeds for further intrigue. We wanted to answer a lot of questions, Headland says. We wanted to show Qimir'S master. So he's not just some random guy like watching over people. He's literally just watching over his apprentice. Bro literally went from Qimir to Palpatine. He wasn't supposed to have any other apprentice. It was him and Tenebris. Then he goes off and he finds Palpatine. Now, there were 7 other potential Force users that he was thinking of perhaps training, but he never actually trained any of them. Once he landed on Palpatine, he was like, this is my guy, this is my new apprentice, I'm going with him. Killed all the rest. There was no apprentice, there was no Acolyte for Plagueis. We wanted to show Qimir'S master. We weren't going to wait a second season for that. We wanted to wrap up the twin storyline. We were not going to leave everybody hanging. They've sat through all of this. Yeah, we did. And we want to reward people for what? Thank you for rewarding us for sitting through that. You know, that's like we go through a really, really rough car ride. Like, you know, for freaking like a long family trip. And, you know, we're going to reward everyone with some cake and ice cream. Yay! Or like, you know, it's like you have like a really long semester of studying. We're going to reward you after this like grueling, gruesome, horrible time that you had of no fun with something a little bit enjoyable. Here's a pizza. What? And then there's this next phase. Should the series be allowed to continue, the dangling of the dangling of other stuff, literally, she says it herself, especially the legacy stuff, like what's Manny's name? Yeah, I'm really dying to know that one. Yoda, Plagueis, and what the background is with Vernestra and her relationship with the Senate and how that's going to unfold with this sort of internal review of the Jedi. Where does that lead? So it was a lot of how is this going to fit in to what we see later. That was the step I wanted to save for the tease, as well as Osha and the Strange relationship. I felt like that was a really good thing to tease as well. Mostly I need a full season for that, especially after the character briefly touched hands in their final... Oh, yes, well, now they're dating. If this does end up being the end of the Acolyte, Headland is comforted by the fact that she went all out from the show's opening scene, which featured the first of many, many Jedi deaths to come. Ah, more. Yeah, indeed. We left it all... Remember when our concern was the fire in space? We left it all on the field. Yeah, we left it all burning on the field for sure. I think we ate. Yeah, you ate, we barfed. It's a real triumph for me to not just work in this world, but I'm a woman and I'm gay. That's crazy. What timeline are we in that I get to do that? The timeline where humans make movies?
Oh my God! Wow!
Pretty sure the 90s absolved all of the hatred for gay people in North America. Pretty much, no? I feel like by the time the 80s rolled around, things were like starting to look up, which is great. What is this obsession with gay, straight, weird world, man? Who cares? Who cares who you love? I don't care. I don't know. Do you guys care that I'm straight? Would you guys care if I was gay? You judge me based on who I am.
Judge me by my size, do you?
The things I say and how my brain works and if I'm intellectual or not. Of course, there are people that go against that, racist or homophobic, but those are minorities in today's world. So, I mean, she's talking like this is the freaking what, 50s? Like, what are you on about, man? You're like 10 million times more successful than any of the YouTubers I know. I don't know. Headland continues, it's such a triumph for me that in the making of it, there was no part of me that was like, I'm not going to fight for something. I'm going to get effing Cortosis in there no matter what. I'm going to get Amanda in there doing her own action, which she had never done before, and she stepped the hell up in order to do that. I gotta do a corruption arc. Yeah, you definitely did a corruption arc, a corruption of the timeline. That's for sure. I got to do a female character who is choosing darkness and evil, which is honestly my brand. Your brand is Hicks choosing evil and darkness? I don't know. I've never seen any of her work, but then I got to do it in this world. Yeah, it's this world, you know. She shakes her head in gleeful disbelief. Give me a break. And the next break would be getting season 2. Bro, I'm telling you guys right now, they're going to double down. They're going to give us season 2. For sure. And we're going to get the actual destruction of Darth Plagueis. And so many people are going to be so unbelievably pissed off at what she's going to do with his character, it's going to be wild. And you know what? I might even just sit back on that one and just, do the watch parties and just not say anything and just see what people say. People like to point the finger and say that I created all of the division. Bro, I'm just a freaking reactor. I'm just a guy who talks about the shows. Don't kill the messenger, man. The message came from higher up. I'm just watching, just like everybody else. People can think for themselves. If it's whack, it's whack. That's because it was written whack. I don't have power to write it. I don't have power to make these films. Are you kidding me? It'd be great. Give me $180 million. I'll show you true Star Wars. I'll show you something truly amazing you've never seen before since the George Lucas era. So yeah, look, let's talk about, the meat of the matter here of this video, and that's in particular, it's that Plagueis is now the master of Qimir. And look, I'm a bit mixed on this. First of all, I hate the show. I don't want Plagueis to have anything to do with these made up bullshit characters. And I know some people might be saying, well, it's all made up. No shit, but there's structure, and there's supposed to be a story to unfold here. Plagueis didn't have any other apprentice, right? The rule of two stands. I'm not going to say it's ruined now because, well, look, Palpatine and Plagueis, but then there was Maul. Palpatine and Dooku, but then there was Asajj. So this could be very well like a situation like that where Qimir is the Asajj Ventress to Plagueis, and Tenebrous is around. Do I like it? No, of course not. It's not supposed to be that way. She's writing stuff that, just adapt it from the book. At least keep the book locked in when it comes to Plagueis and Palpatine. But this is just some whack-ass shit, dog. This is just, no, I don't like it. So let's go ahead and see what people on Reddit are saying. Leslie confirms that Qimir really is the true apprentice. Crying face. Leslye Headland has apparently confirmed that Qimir really is Plagueis' apprentice. Qimir is a true Sith, not just posing or a wannabe. He is Darth. He didn't explicitly say this about him being Darth, but that's just how it goes. Absolutely devastated. They're gonna die. The only hope now is that since Palps isn't even born yet, Oshmir has many years and decades to run around causing havoc before their ultimate destruction. It's possible they formed the Knights of Ren, but I assume Plagueis would have to allow that to happen. If they did make it out of this alive, it's only going to be because the peeping Tom lets them, and he didn't look too happy. Bro, if freaking Plagueis was looking out and he saw his apprentice training another apprentice, he would have just freaking both of them right then and there. Looks like Plagueis' Wikipedia page lists Palpatine and Qimir as his apprentices now. Damn, that's actually a pretty big lore update from Headland. Wonder what everyone's going to say about that. Just because he's Plagueis' apprentice doesn't mean that Tenebrous isn't alive, right? He could be a secret apprentice. I don't know, holding out hope. Oh, yeah, no, I definitely think that that's exactly what Qimir is. I think that he is probably... The problem is that Plagueis had these 7 other potential Force users that he would have maybe picked up during the time of Palpatine. But this is way before that. This is when Tenebrous is like dying, or has died, or will die. Actually, no, what am I saying? Tenebrous is still around. I don't know, because they just change shit. They just change it how they want. And it's obvious that, well, actually, it's not obvious, but I would imagine that Leslie read the Darth Plagueis novel. She says she did. It doesn't really seem like she did from the writing of the show, but the decision was made. Anyways, but now that would be interesting. Reminds you of the Sith in the Clone Wars. Everyone is running around with the secret apprentice. I think Tenebrous fans can still win. Yeah, it could very well be. It's much like a Maul scenario, like what I mentioned with Asajj and Maul and Dooku and all that stuff. So it could very well be that I don't want to have to freaking theorize and use my Star Wars knowledge to justify this show. But okay, look, just for the fun of it, if we're actually going to go this route, then yeah, look, Qimir could just be like his apprentice, and then he thinks he doesn't know about Tenebrous, let's say, so he thinks that he is the actual other rule of two. So he wants to find an apprentice of his own so that they can probably kill Plagueis, which ain't going to work, and then rule together. And that's why Qimir said, I'm looking for, what did he say? I'm looking for the rule of two. I'm looking for another. And this whole, the power of one, the power of two, the power of many. It's okay, so there are just many apprentices, or many acolytes running around. The rule of two more or less becomes the exception of two. Sith apprentices are definitely known for their own underlings, so it's not at all confirmed if Plagueis is currently the master or the apprentice. I'm hoping because it seems cool. Well, okay, but Tenebrous is around at this time, I would imagine, unless they change that. But Qimir in episode 6 yearning for his own power of two makes me think the early fan theory, an acolyte training their own acolyte. Yeah, maybe. One thing to consider is that what an acolyte was to the Sith in the EU prior to the rule of two, and that was a prospect for an apprentice. It's the entire premise of the Sith storyline in Star Wars The Old Republic. You start as one of the many acolytes competing for the right to be an apprentice to a Sith Lord, and even one of those storylines would suggest that your new master isn't even a true Lord yet. Just the title of the show, when introduced, had me interested to see, yeah, right, so it could very well be like that. However, I think that the times of having, so many different Sith running around are literally from that time, from the Old Republic. So that kind of died when Bane executed the Brotherhood of Darkness. And I don't think that that should be kind of coming around where there's a shitload of Sith kind of all being acolytes or apprentices of one another and trying to like supersede the other. I just think that it sort of undermines the holocron that Bane found in Legends, which had Revan explaining the rule of two. And I think that we should keep it with, this rule of two and how it is super tight knit and how they were extremely under control in that sense, where there were only literally two Sith around. So that right there, I have an issue with. Surprise, surprise. What would Tenebrous being alive even bring to the show? It's already got 3 Sith. It doesn't need 4. Yeah, you see, things are now just getting out of hand. There's too many Sith running around. This is going to be a major problem for her, and there's going to be unbelievable blowback to this if season 2 does happen and this does go through. It's going to be, because now you're not just meddling with these random ass characters that were created to die or to whatever. Clearly not these few. You're now getting closer and closer and closer to the prequel trilogy, where you are now fundamentally changing the wheels of time, and you are really messing with a lot of established lore, not just from Legends, but now in canon. And I don't think that that's a good place that you want to go to and fuck around with. Of course, Qimir is the apprentice. He says, I want an Acolyte, and that is probably to kill Plagueis. That's wild, man. An Acolyte is not an apprentice. It's like, essentially, you're volunteering until you're hired. Which is why he wanted May to kill a Jedi using no weapon, because if you can do that, especially in the High Republic era, you might stand a chance of being strong enough to defeat Daddy Plagueis. I think he wanted May to use the dark side of the Force to kill, because that would complete her turn to the Sith. Both, the whole without a weapon thing is not that big of a deal, and not some sort of metaphor of ruining the reputation of the Jedi. They should have had Qimir explain he did it because it was fun. Offering poison and getting Tomim to take it willingly, I thought it was Torben, basically is without a weapon anyway. Poison is the definition of a weapon. I assumed it was because they can't name a series The Apprentice. I guess that's the finale of the series right there, a doomed attempt to overthrow Plagueis. I dig it. Yeah. And Leslye did say that these two are doomed. Like, they're looking out and, you just know that there's this impending doom because they are going to be killed by Plagueis. I'm paraphrasing what she said. Impossible. The Sith have been extinct for a millennium. Yeah, Sol went rogue and killed all those Jedi. Crazy. Morg and Basil confirmed loose ends that need to be eliminated. Basil, yes. How is Mog a loose end? He can speak Basil? Maybe, I'm not sure. Bro, both. We need a frickin' Mog and Basil lethal weapon style. My man, mind wipes exist in the High Republic. They can just pull a Revan on them. No one needs to die. Plus, in the Phantom Menace, Yoda and Mace wonder if they killed the Master or the Apprentice, so those two had to know about the Rule of Two. I always took it as a sign of the Jedi's arrogance, which led to their downfall by Revenge of the Sith. Because, like you said, Ki-Adi-Mundi is not only wrong, but arrogant in his wrongness as well. Obi-Wan is straight up told in Episode 2 that a Sith Lord is currently in charge and completely disregards that information. It's a bit of a thing for a Jedi. Hard to see the dark side as somehow they came back. Hope people can finally stop debating if he is a Sith now. It was quite apparent to me Qimir is indeed a Sith. Wish they would just announce his Sith title. The amount of mental gymnastics that I had to go through online with people being like, he's not a Sith. He could be a dark Jedi. Who was right? We were. Frickin' Sith. There you go. I think it could still go that direction, that there's been a lot of hunting towards it. Could see Qimir have a comparable arc to Maul, where he's cast aside and starts or heads up a separate group to try and take back power. Yeah, and gets absolutely diced by Plagueis. This is why some of us hoped that this show would flesh them out more, and I had a couple of other people thought Kymir's outfit reminded us something of a Knight of Ren would wear. Well, he was wearing a freaking, what you wear when it's raining at an amusement park. On paper and in comics, they were pretty cool. It's just the movies, they were a letdown. I mean, these guys were ballsy enough to raid Vader's castle during the reign of the Empire in the comics and had their own code. Can't get more outrageous than that. I'm always up for a new dark side faction. The new Witch Coven in the show was already one of my favorite parts. There can be room for one more cool faction, but they need to be developed at some point, obviously. Gotta branch out from it being the Sith and the Night Sisters as the sole dark side threats. Yeah, because, we just kind of introduced the Night Sisters into live action. But yeah, let's just move on to another sect of witches, literally, who use the Force. So she just combined witches with Jedi. Witches with Sith. Sith witches. Sitches. We've got sitches. That's what we have, ladies and gentlemen. Sitches. What else do you call a witch that uses the Force? They are fleshed out in the comics. It's a good thing comics and books don't actually matter anymore. They can just write what they want. I knew Qimir had to be a real Sith. Killing 12 Jedi at the same time is beyond the capabilities of an acolyte or assassin. As for the Sith name, I'm hoping for Darth Extraneous. In the Plagueis novel, not canon, I know hasn't been for 10 years, agreed. He's advocating ditching the rule of two, so it's obviously not sacred to him. We can assume from the events so far that Leslie is aware of the contents of that novel and has decided to at least stick with a mun and to include the Cortosis mine. I think she will likely not stop there with recanonizing some of these events. Yeah, it's what they kind of always have been doing. It's just they take events and canonize those little ones, but then completely morph and like change everything around it as if it's a holodeck in Star Trek. Like it's literally something else entirely. I don't understand how people didn't get that from watching the show. It's like they need everything spelled out to them. Did everyone forget that part where he was talking about peace being a lie? There's that one too. I mean, he's essentially just reciting the Sith code. I think it's because people are trying to match Qimir into the previously stated order of master-apprentice from Legends and in canon. And he doesn't perfectly fit in as a known member of the lineage. As per usual, just waiting for an answer down the line is obviously unacceptable. So people are just jumping to the conclusion that he isn't a Sith at all. I like the idea that Qimir is the cast-off former apprentice of Plagueis, and Plagueis is there because he's discovered, to his surprise, that Qimir is still alive. Are you making stuff up now? Adds a layer of tragedy because Qimir's trying to do his own rule of two, and to Osha, he's a wise and powerful master, but to the two of them are totally unprepared for what's coming. Yeah, absolutely. That's true. What is the actual title of the show? An acolyte, by definition, is an apprentice to an apprentice. He even says he is looking for an acolyte, which means he is the apprentice. Indeed, he is. And Plagueis is the master, and Tenebris is his master. Interesting. That means Plagueis is much older in canon than he was in Legends. There are still approximately 80 years left until Plagueis discovers Palpatine, so don't worry. We still have a lot of time for these characters to cause trouble. No, he's going to discover Palpatine probably within the next, I would say, 30 to 40 years max. Probably 40 years from now. This subreddit is cooked. People getting 100 downvotes for having a different opinion than the rabid fans. Jeez. Yeah, how do you like it? How does it feel? Doesn't feel good, does it? Everyone's got an opinion. Everyone can have an opinion, and it doesn't invalidate your opinion if yours is different from someone else's. Just means you see things differently. None of this matters unless they do season 2. It's not set in stone until the master and apprentice relationship between Plagiarize the Wise Qimir appears on the screen. Jeremy the Trash. Oh, you guys are taking that. Hey, where's my copyright, baby? Oh, yeah, hell yeah. I love that you guys are using that. It's great. Where'd it go? What the hell? Okay, yeah, cool. 120 years hanging out in the Jedi Temple. No one told me about it. I read that interview, and I honestly don't think she was talking about Plagueis. She was talking about Vernestra being revealed as Qimir's Jedi Master. She was definitely talking about Plagueis. If I couldn't do Plagueis or Yoda, I think that would have been a real heartbreak, Headland says. I think it sets up the future storylines that could be really compelling. In the end, the finale wrapped up major storylines while planting the seeds for further intrigue. We wanted to answer a lot of questions, Headland says. We wanted to show Qimir's master. We weren't going to wait a second season for that. Yeah, this confirmation is not good news for Osha and Qimir if they follow the Sith path. But I think Leslye Headland has other plans for them, trying to get into the Knights of Ren. That's true, but to be clear, Ventress wasn't considered a Sith, and Maul was cast aside as an apprentice, so he's more of a rival to the Sith Lord than a Sith. Alright, so this goes on and on and on, and honestly, it's 4:30 in the morning right now, and as much as I'd love to keep reading about the Acolyte and how Plagueis is Qimir's master, or whether Leslie was talking about Plagueis or Vernestra, or, I don't know what, and, reading the Reddit subreddit about this, I think I'm gonna go to bed. So you guys let me know what you think about all of this. Do you think that she was talking about Vernestra? Do you think that she now made Plagueis the actual apprentice? It's pretty obvious. I think people are just in this subreddit detracting from the fact that she does mean Plagueis, because she never once was talking about Vernestra in that sentence, I don't think. And she was talking about Plagueis and Yoda. And we know Yoda's not Qimir's apprentice or his master, so pretty sure he's talking about Plagueis and how, if we sat through this whole thing, then she's going to have to, show him to us. I don't know if I like getting all this information with these interviews. If we were meant to know something, it should have been made clear in the show, right? Good writing would have ensured this, but alas. Well, we're going to leave it right at that. Ooh, it gets dark as people get... I wish she'd stop doing that, to be honest. Oh, anyways. Love you guys. Hope you have a great day. And remember, be nice to each other. Everyone has opinions. Doesn't all have to be the same. Catch you later. May the force be with you. Always.